Selden left the kitchen table to come out and say hello to us. Since his father's suicide, my aversion to him had grown stronger, and at the end of the day I hid back of the school when I knew he was out front, waiting to walk me home. And though we lived just one short block from the school, in the morning I'd tiptoe down the stairs and leave the house 15 minutes before I had to in order to beat him out the door. But then, late in the afternoon, I would invariably run into him, even if I was at the other end of the Chancellor Avenue hill. I'd be on a household errand, and there would be Selden at my heels, acting as if he'd turned up by accident. And whenever he came by to try to teach me to play chess, I would pretend I wasn't home and not answer the door. If my mother was around, she would try to persuade me to play with him by reminding me of the very thing that I wanted to forget. His father was a wonderful chess player. Years ago he was champion at the Y. He taught Selden, and now Selden has no one to play with, and he wants to play with you. I'd tell her that I didn't like or understand the game, or know how to play it, but finally there'd be no choice, and Selden would show up with the chessboard and his chessmen, and I'd sit down across from him at the kitchen table, where he'd immediately begin to remind me how his father had made the board and found the chess pieces. He went into New York, and he knew just the places to go to, and he found just the right pieces. Aren't they beautiful? They're made of special wood, and he made this board. He found the wood, and he cut it. You see how the different colors are? The only way I found to stop him from perpetually going on about the terrifying dead father was to bombard him with the latest toilet jokes I'd heard at school. When we were headed upstairs again, I realized that my father was now going to marry Mrs. Wishnow, and that one evening soon the three of us would carry our belongings down the back stairway and move in with her and Selden, and that on the way to school as on the way home there would be no way ever again of avoiding Selden and his unceasing need to draw sustenance from me. And once, back in the house, I would have to put my coat away in the closet where Selden's father had hanged himself. Sandy would sleep in the Wishnow sun parlor, as he had in ours when Alvin lived with us. I'd sleep in the back bedroom beside Selden, while in the other bedroom my father would sleep where Selden's father used to sleep, alongside Selden's mother and her clenched fists. I wanted to go to the corner and get on a bus and disappear. I still had Alvin's $20 hidden in the tip of a shoe at the bottom of my closet. I'd take the money and get on a bus down at Penn Station, buy a one-way ticket for the train to Philadelphia. There I would find Alvin, and never live with my family again. Instead, I would stay with Alvin and look after his stump. My mother called home after she had put Aunt Evelyn to bed. Rabbi Bengelsdorf was in Washington, but he had talked with Evelyn on the phone, and afterwards spoke to my mother, assuring her that he knew better than her dunce of a husband what was and was not in the interest of the Jews. How Herman had treated Evelyn would not be forgotten, he said, especially after all he himself had gone out of his way to do for her nephew at Evelyn's request. The rabbi concluded by telling my mother that appropriate action would be taken when the time came. Around 10, my father went to pick my mother up and drive her home. Sandy and I were already in pajamas when she came into the room and sat down on my bed and took my hand. I'd never seen her so exhausted, not completely depleted like Mrs. Wishnow, but hardly the untiring mother, full of contentment, who used to live so energetically inside her skin back when her worries were merely the ones of making do for her family on a husband's take-home pay of less than $50 a week, a downtown job, a house to run, a tempestuous sister, a determined husband, a headstrong 14-year-old, an apprehensive 9-year-old. Not even the simultaneous inundation of all these concerns, with all their exacting demands, need have been overly burdensome for a woman so resourceful. If only there weren't Lindbergh, too. "Sandy," she said, "what shall we do? Should I explain to you why Daddy doesn't think you should go? Can we do that together quietly? At some point we have to talk everything through. Just you and me off by ourselves. Sometimes Daddy can fly off the handle, but I don't. You know that. You can trust me to listen to you. But we have to get some perspective on what is going on, because maybe it really isn't a good thing for you to be drawn any further into something like this. Maybe Aunt Evelyn made a mistake. She's overexcited, darling. She's been like that all her life. Something out of the ordinary happens and she loses all perspective, Daddy thinks. Shall I continue, dear, or do you want to go to sleep?" "Do what you want," Sandy said flatly. "Continue," I said. My mother smiled at me. "Why? What do you want to know?" "What everyone's yelling for." Because everybody sees things differently. Kissing me goodnight, she said, because there's a lot on everyone's mind. But when she leaned toward Sandy's bed to kiss him, he turned his face into the pillow. And there we will pause.